we will be talking about light and electromagnetic spectrum. Okay? Yan. And start with, last week we discussed about the wave. Okay? Ano ba yung wave? So you had an understanding of what a wave is, because sabi natin it's only a disturbance, okay, where energy is transmitted, okay, and sabi natin it could be mechanical, requiring a medium for transmission, or electromagnetic na does not require a medium for transmission. So, napag-usapan na natin last week in more detail yung mechanical waves. And so this morning, let's talk about electromagnetic wave. Okay, so starting with the nature of electromagnetic waves, or simply EM wave. Okay, now an EM wave consists of electric field and magnetic field, which are uh, the regions through which the push or pull of charged particles and magnets is exerted. Okay? Ayan. So, makita nyo dito, di ba, last time we discussed about interactive forces, and we had contact and non-contact. So, itong push or pull na ito is a kind of force na there's no need for the objects to be in contact with each other. So dito, it's the charged particle that we're talking about, okay? And it consists of an electric field and magnetic field positioned at right angles to each other and to the direction of motion of the wave. So that is why they are transverse waves, because yung vibration, okay, or the oscillation between electric and magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other, and both are also perpendicular to the direction of the motion of the wave, okay? And like other waves, EM waves carry energy with them, okay, which are transmitted from one place to another, but they do not carry energy by causing matter to vibrate, okay? So instead, it's the electric and magnetic fields that are vibrating, okay? And this is the reason, or this explains why EM waves can travel even with space. Kasi ano pa yung electromagnetic fields? These are just regions in space as well. Okay? Yan. And let's take a look at electric field para mas maintindihan natin. How is electric field formed? Okay? Now, it is a region of space in which a charge would be acted upon by an electric force. So, merong force, and that kind of force is electric in nature. Okay? It may be produced by one or more charges and may be uniform, or it may vary in magnitude or direction from place to place. And this is how it looks like. Okay? Now, imagine na wala yung dalawang charge na yun, positive and negative. Imagine it na wala. So then there's nothing. It's simply space. Okay? But if you put one charge, like for example, a positive or a negative charge in that space, then the environment around it changes, okay? Because an electric field is produced, okay? So how do we know? I mean, ibig sabihin, because there's an electric field in the environment, if you put another charge in that environment, that charge would experience a force, okay? So it could be an attractive force or a repulsive force. So yun yung electric field na sinasabi natin, okay? It's just a region in space. Okay, then what about electromagnetic field? Okay, it's a property of space caused by the motion of an electric charge. Ayan. So, pag stationary charge lang ang nakalagay, it will just produce an electric field, okay, in the surrounding space. But if the charge is moving, a magnetic field is also produced, okay? An electric field can be produced also by a changing magnetic field. So the mutual interaction of electric and magnetic fields produce an electromagnetic field. Ayan. Okay? Ayan. So imagine it, just a charge in one space, not moving, it will create an electric field. The moment it vibrates, okay, yan, aside from the magnetic field, that is a result of the charge, it also will produce a magnetic field the moment it starts vibrating. So yung dalawa kasi connected yan eh, alright? They are connected, and they are traveling mutually, okay, but perpendicular to each other, okay? So these electromagnetic fields are described as waves transporting electromagnetic energy, okay? Right, so this is how it looks like, okay? So here you have a charge, and when it vibrates, okay, it generates a vibrating electric and magnetic fields, okay? Yeah, so these vibrating fields make up an electromagnetic wave, okay? Ayan, so ito yon. This is the one. But I've shown you another picture last time, di ba? So they are the same, okay? Yan, and then moving on, yan. How are electromagnetic waves produced and transmitted? Yan. Just like any other wave, whether mechanical or electromagnetic, o di ba sa mechanical waves, the source of energy starts with vibration of matter. Okay, so any wave starts with vibration. Okay? So for electromagnetic waves, the source is vibrating electric and magnetic fields, sabi natin. Okay? And to understand that better, let us recall or review the structure of the atom. Alam naman natin that atoms are the building blocks of matter and that they are consist of smaller particles called or subatomic particles which are called protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay? Now, you know that the structure of an atom is one where there is a central core, which we call the nucleus of the atom. And in the nucleus, it's there that the protons and neutrons are fixed, okay? But the electrons, they do not occupy fixed positions, okay? They may be in fixed tawag dito, energy levels, but they keep on spinning around the nucleus of an atom. Okay? Yan. So electrons are charged particles that can produce electric and magnetic field. Okay? So in order that, sabi, alam naman natin, simula pa kanina, that this vibration are the ones that can cause electromagnetic field. At yung electrons that are vibrating, these are the ones that create those electric and magnetic fields, vibration, okay, or oscillation, okay? So in other words, the source of all electromagnetic waves is charge that is changing speed or direction. And all forms of electromagnetic waves have their origin in the atom, okay? Ayan. In the atom, why? Because alam naman natin that it is in the atom that is the origin of all of charges that we know in nature. Okay? So, that dalawa lang naman yun, positive charge and negative charge. And because of that charge, it creates a lot of other phenomena that we know in nature. And one of them is electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic waves, okay, that carry with them electromagnetic energy, okay, which we'll be looking at as we continue, okay? And look at this picture to have a clearer understanding of how electromagnetic waves are produced or generated. I don't, oh, sige, yon. Okay. So this is the atom, all right? There is the nucleus. Okay? Yan yung nucleus. Now, sabi natin in chemistry when we study the structure, especially the electronic structure of atoms, okay? Kasi yung electronic structure na yan, it's not like the nucleus where they are at the center of the atom, okay? It's a core of the atom, okay? But the electrons are occupying various energy levels, okay? Yan, depende sa dami ng electrons for atoms, okay? Now, kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na first energy level, second, third, okay? So, under ground state condition, ibig sabihin yung walang energy involved pa lang. So, as a structure, okay? So, yan, ganyan. Now, if the electrons or the atom absorb a specific amount of energy, okay, the electron, aside from spinning, would be promoted or excited to a higher energy level, higher. So, yun yung simulanan niya ng vibration, okay, moving forward and backward, okay? Pero it's not as simple as that, ha? It's basically also rotating or spinning around, okay? But as it absorbs energy, okay, it would be promoted to an excited state energy level, okay? But that position is not permanent, okay? So the electron would lose that absorbed energy and would return to its original position, okay? And in the process, the energy that was absorbed would be released also or emitted in the form of electromagnetic wave, okay? So that's how, okay, the vibration of charged particles or electron at this particular example, okay? And in fact, electrons talaga, okay? The ones that would move back and forth and then producing electromagnetic wave, okay? So yan, kasi sabi natin kanina, movement or vibration of charge, okay, is the source of all electromagnetic waves. Okay, now, sabi natin last time, electromagnetic waves is a continuous spectrum and we call that electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, and like all other types of waves, they also have the features of other waves like the amplitude, wavelength, frequency, and all other characteristics that we described about a wave. Okay, now electromagnetic waves are arranged in wavelengths and frequency. Okay, from the longest or sabihin na natin from the lowest energy wave, okay, to the highest energy wave. Okay, and that will be looking into one by one later on. Okay, yung spectrum na yan, since kaya siya tinawag na kung spectrum, there's continuity. Okay, yan. Para bang uh, kung sa bodies of water, di ba, yung streams are connected to creeks, creeks are connected to rivers, and then eventually rivers are connected into the ocean. Okay, so there's a connection. Wala namang putol-putol na, walang division, okay, to to divide one from the other. But in some ways, this spectrum are sabihin na nating a little bit overlapping with one another. Okay? Hindi naman overlapping na patong-patong but yung division nila kasi makikita natin as we describe each group of this electromagnetic spectrum. Okay? Now, the amount of energy carried by EM waves increase with frequency and is measured using this formula. Okay? Yan. All right. And looking at this picture, ayan yon. So, yan yung continuum ng spectrum. Okay? Starting with, okay, the radio, the longest wavelength and the lowest energy um, waves. And then here we have the shortest wavelength and the highest energy uh, waves. Okay? So, yan. And with that, let's take a look at them one by one. Okay, so starting with the radio waves. Okay, um, these are the longest wavelength in the spectrum. Okay, so yun yung kanyang wavelength, 0.3 meters of meter. Okay, so they have the lowest frequency in the magnetic spectrum, in the EM spectrum, and because they have the lowest frequency, they transmit the lowest amount of energy in the group. Okay, kasi nga long wavelength, pag long wavelength, there would be fewer cycles, wave cycle that would pass through a given point. Okay, and if that happens, then there would be low frequency. All right, so that results to low energy. Okay, now some of the applications of radio waves or the most common that we know about radio waves sa use niya or application ay yung in dito, communication or in our radios, sa radyo at telebisyon, di ba? O kaya nga radio waves eh. But when you hear the word radio waves, tama yung iniisip niya na ito yung mga radyo, okay? Kaya nga di ba may mga frequencies para ano, di ba? So radio waves are produced when charged particles move back and forth in instruments such as antennas, okay? So these are then used to transmit information from antenna to antenna. So specifically from a broadcasting station to the antenna of your radio or television. Okay? Now, aside from that, radio waves are also used in medicine. Kaya ito ay yung alam na alam ninyong MRI. Naririnig nyo yan. Okay? So, that's the application in medicine. Okay? And then we have microwaves. Okay, so itong microwaves na to, these are also radio waves, but they are the highest frequency radio waves. Okay, kaya sineparate siya na tinawag na microwaves. Okay, yan. So, pag sinabi mo micro, di ba? Low, lower. Okay, so very small, very tiny. So, lower wavelength as compared to radio waves. Okay? Yan. And when you hear the word microwaves, syempre pumapasok na agad sa isip ninyo ay microwave oven. Okay? So, and that's correct. Okay? So, microwave oven is the most familiar application para sa microwaves. Diba? And these are basically used for heating food at a shorter period of time. Okay? And if you notice, class, kung may mga microwave kayo dyan sa mga bahay ninyo, you notice that the food gets heated, but the dish container does not get heated. Okay? Or if it gets heated, hindi masyado. Nahahawakan nyo pa din, di ba? So how can that happen? Because microwaves are absorbed by some substances, but they pass through some others. So, in the heating of food in microwave ovens, okay, what happened is that the microwaves are absorbed by the food, okay, and then causing the molecules of the food to vibrate, creating heat, di ba? So that's how it is heated, okay? And then they pass through the dish, kaya hindi nagiinit yung dish container, okay? The most common use of microwave, however, aside from cooking, is transmitting information sa communications din, okay? So ito yung waves that transmit information in our cell phones and portable telephones, o di ba? So yun yung application ng microwaves. Okay? They are also used in weather forecasting, di ba? Kaya mga forecasters, they send out microwaves into the atmosphere and that would be able to locate storms. Kaya nafo-forecast, nafo-foresee, okay? Yung padating na bagyo, and by measuring their velocities, kasi mga waves yan, di ba? Meron niyang frequency, meron niyang velocity, okay? They will be able to forecast kung anong oras, what time, okay? Would these storms would landfall, okay? And another thing, the short wavelength microwaves are used in radar, diba? So within the microwave group, there are longer wavelength microwaves and shorter wavelength microwaves, okay? So yung shorter wavelength microwaves are used in radars, okay? Radar stands for radio detecting and ranging, okay? So the most common use of the radar is for locating and monitoring speed. Okay? Ayan. So, sa ibang bansa, napaka-high-tech na. Kahit uh, sa mga stoplights nila, there are radars that are positioned there together with CCTV cameras that can that always picture out the plate numbers of passing vehicles. And then if the radar detects that it is overspeeding, then at the next stop, puhulihin na ng police kasi nag-overspeeding. O, di ba? Ganun yun. And radar is also used in locating ships at sea and tracking or monitoring airplanes, positions ng mga airplanes. Ayan, okay? So, radar ang gamit doon, okay? And infrared waves, next to the microwaves are the infrared waves, okay? Now, the most common application, so yun yung kanyang wavelength range, 0.001 and 10 to the negative 6 meter, okay? Yeah, but the most common application for infrared rays ay yung inyong mga remote control sa inyong mga TV o mga radyo o mga CD players, okay? So when you click your remote control buttons, then it sends out infrared waves, okay? And then, yon mag-open na, okay? So aside from that, It is IR waves, so infrared or IR that are used in thermometers, yung mga ano, 'di ba? Night vision goggles, thermal imaging, and also IR waves finds applications in astronomical studies. Okay? Now, almost 50% of the rays emitted by the sun are in the IR region. Okay? Almost 50% of the rays. Okay? Now, with this, all objects give off infrared rays, but the amount of IR rays emitted, okay, depend on the temperature of the object, okay, because they are felt as heat, okay, mostly from a light bulb, from a stove, and syempre, from the sun, di ba? Okay. Now, what about visible light? Okay, so the word visible means can be seen by the human eye. So these are wavelengths in the spectrum, in the EM spectrum, where we are able to see the light. Okay, so it consists of the 7 colors of white light that our eye can perceive. So yan yung range ng kanyang wavelength from 390 to 789 nanometers. Okay? And look at this again. Okay? So this is our EM spectrum. At yung maliit na yon, that small portion there, okay, is the visible light. Okay? Is the visible spectrum of the EM wave. Okay? Notice, okay, na very small portion lang siya. Okay? So you see the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. But even if it's just a small portion of the EM spectrum, it is very, very important. Okay? Kaya nga, despite the small range, it is of great importance. Okay? So with almost half the energy given off by the sun in the form of visible light, life on Earth could not exist without it. Okay? Yung importance niyan lies in the trapping of energy from the EM spectrum or from the EM radiation, okay? And for conversion into usable form for all um, animals and humans. Kasi alam naman natin, di ba, na yung photosynthesis is a process that traps energy from the sun, okay, and convert to usable energy, okay? Ang pinaka-usable for humans ay yung food, di ba? Kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng food. Ba? Remember yung ating thermodynamics converted from one form to another. And photosynthesis can only trap within the visible spectrum of light. Okay? It could not convert yung mga UV o yung mga IR or microwave, only the visible light. Okay? Ayan. Kaya nga, meron tayong other forms, okay, of energy. Okay? Although, sa panahon ngayon, okay, yung other forms are already being converted but not into food, di ba? To other forms of energy that we can make use of. Why? Kasi yung ating fossil-based fuel, energy or energy resources ay nadideplete na. Okay? Yan. So for other forms like mechanical form, di ba? Electrical form, ayan. So nadideplete na yan. So other sources. But for life, okay? That's why I call the visible light also the light of life. Di ba? Okay. So that's it. Ayan. Okay, so that's all about the visible light. Okay, so the importance is for living systems. Okay, through the process of photosynthesis. Okay, now the next one in the spectrum is the ultraviolet or UV waves. Okay, ayan yung kanilang range ng wavelength. Okay, and UV rays is great enough to kill living cells, mga cells at sa cellular level. So that is why UV lights are used for disinfecting, okay, or disinfection, all right? Kaya nga, di ba, to kill germs in hospitals and bacteria, all right? So, ibig sabihin, sa operating room nga, yung mga ilaw na nandun, they are UV lights, okay? So that the room remains to be disinfected para hindi ma-infect yung inooperahan, di ba? and also used in processing food, okay? Para ma-preserve yung food. Oh. Kaya kasi nasisira ang pagkain pag merong bacteria or microorganisms that grow, okay, in the food, okay? But with this, nadi-disinfect, all right? And another thing, when your body absorbs sunlight, UV rays cause your skin to produce vitamin D. Okay, so yun pala yung isa pang usefulness or benefit ng UV. Okay? But then again, just like anything na in excess, nagiging harmful kasi excessive exposure to UV rays, kasi di ba remember, may range yan, nakita nyo, from 390 times 10 to the negative 9 hanggang 8.82 times 10 to the negative 9 meters. There's a range. So there are certain rays, range in the UV range na harmful. Okay? But then again, our body has a defense mechanism and that is through tanning. Okay? Pag umiitim tayo, defend yung skin natin against the harmful effects of UV radiation. Okay? Kaya huwag matakot umitim. Okay? Magpasalamat na umiitim kayo. Kasi pag hindi kayo umiitim, then your skin would be able to absorb those harmful UV radiation. O kaya nagkakaroon ng skin cancer. Okay? Now next, we have the ozone. Okay? So ozone in the atmosphere absorbs most of the sun's damaging UV radiation. How does it absorb? Okay? So let me give you a brief chemistry, okay, of the ozone layer. Okay? Yan. Kasi ozone, yan yung tinatawag na the Earth's sunscreen. Okay? Because it prevents the UV radiation to be to enter the Earth's surface through this series of reactions. Okay, so itong O2, yan yung molecular oxygen na we inhale. Okay? Without that, kahit maka-inhale tayo ng ozone, okay, we will not survive. Okay? So, kahit walang ozone, may O2, we will survive. So, yan yung byproduct ng photosynthesis. So, ibig sabihin, it's not only photosynthesis that is the source of molecular oxygen, but also the ozone cycle. O kasi one of the products in the reaction is molecular oxygen. And then, it absorbs UV in the ozone layer, okay, in the stratosphere, okay, and is split into atomic oxygen, okay? Now, an atomic oxygen would react with an oxygen molecule to produce ozone. Ozone is O3, di ba? And then ozone absorbs UV again and produces atomic oxygen and molecular oxygen. But atomic oxygen reacts with ozone, producing molecular oxygen, and the process goes on and on, cyclic in nature, okay? O, nag-produce yan, babalik uli doon, and then goes through the process again, okay? Now, I just made it simple to you, but it's not as simple as it looks, okay? Pero yan na yon, okay? So, pag narinig niyo yung word na ozone, siguro pumapasok sa isip niyo ozone depletion. How is ozone depleted? Okay? So, dito, di ba? What causes depletion ay yung mga tinatawag nating chlorofluorocarbons. Okay? So, this is just a side discussion. Okay? Parang segue discussion. Something like that. Okay? Kung sa dish, side dish, kumbaga. It's not the main dish. But let me just give you a little information para naman, we care. We would have a little behavior of caring about our environment. Okay, so you have heard of chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, so these are found in our refrigerants. Okay, sa refrigeration industry. Okay, now these are gases. Yung CFCs, as you know it, ay mga gases. And they are persistent. So, ibig sabihin, hindi madaling ma-degrade. Okay? And when they reach the stratosphere, okay, energy is enough there to split them into chlorine and fluorine. Okay? Now, chlorine and fluorine are free radicals that are very, very reactive, much reactive than molecular oxygen and ozone. Okay, so if they are present in the stratosphere, the atomic oxygen, which is also reactive, would react more with the more reactive chlorine and fluorine. Okay, so instead of reacting with molecular oxygen and ozone. Okay, so pag ganun na nangyari, then nabawasan yung production ng ozone. So that's how ozone is depleted. Okay, kaya nga yung mga CFCs pinalitan ng ibang more eco-friendly products. Okay, ayan. Okay, so paminsan-minsan meron tayong side dish sa ating discussion. Alright, now what about X-rays? So these are waves with higher energy and lower wavelengths compared to UV. Okay? And again, you're right. When you think of X-ray, pag nagpapadoktor kayo, di ba? So that's one of the common applications. Okay? Yan. But these waves are penetrating, and extreme exposure can cause mutations to the tissue. Okay? So, hindi ka man mamatay, mag-mutate naman. So, that is the reason why very, very brief lang ang ating exposure pag nagpapa-x-ray, di ba? Seconds lang, okay? Parang hindi ka pa nga humihinga, tapos na agad, okay? Ganun yon, okay? And then also, aside from application in medicine, X-rays also find applications in scanners, just like in airports, okay? They use X-ray scanners, okay? To track or monitor kung ano yung mga laman ng bags, okay? O kung may mga kontrabando, things like that. Okay? So, alam na ninyo pagka X-ray scanner sa airport. Alright? And then we have the gamma rays. Okay? So, these are the highest frequency, therefore the highest energy waves in the EM spectrum. Okay? And the energy is so great that they can even penetrate yung up to 3 meters thick ng concrete. Imagine mo, 3 metrong kapal ng concrete, they are able to penetrate. That's how great the energy of gamma rays are, or gamma waves, okay? And because they are highly ionizing, okay, dangerous sila, hazardous, okay? Yan, it can result to permanent cell damage in tissues of the body. So that is why when doctors use gamma waves to create images of internal organs of the body, these are used under controlled condition. Controlled, di ba? Para hindi harmful. Okay? So those are gamma waves. And you know, it's the gamma waves that are also emitted by radioactive materials. O kaya nga delikado. That's where the danger of radioactive materials lie. The emission of highly ionizing gamma waves. Okay? And then these are also the waves that are emitted by nuclear reactions. Okay? All right. And with that, okay, so let's go back. So yun yung ating electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, so let's go back to the visible light. Okay? Balik tayo doon. Okay? Now, anything that can give off its own light, we call it a luminous object. Okay? If an object can emit a visible light, okay? Nakikita natin kaya visible. It is called a luminous object. Okay? So, examples, we have the sun. Nakikita natin, di ba? And then light bulbs, the stars, candles, campfires, etc. Okay? And even fireflies. Yan. Now, there are 3 ways in which a luminous object can be made to give off visible light. Okay, first we have incandescent light. Okay, it is produced from heating the object. And when the object is heated, they glow, emitting light. Okay, visible light. Usually, kung minsan mga white yung light na yun, alright? Examples of this, madalas naman colored. And examples of these are coils of oven toasters, di ba? Pag inon nyo yung oven toaster ninyo, mag-heat siya and then it will glow, giving a red hot glow, di ba? So, visible siya. Okay? And then also another example, yung coals or the charcoals that you are heating when you are cooking barbecue. Okay? Because the coals or charcoals turn orange. Okay? when heated. The glow is orange. Okay? So yun yung light that is emitted. Okay? The visible light that is emitted. Then what about fluorescent light? Okay? These are lights that instead, and then if they use electricity, it's much lesser use as compared to incandescent light. Okay? But instead of being used to build up heat, okay, electrons in fluorescent lights are used to bombard molecules of gas. So yung electrons, they bombard, okay, the molecules of gas that are kept low in a tube, in a pressure tube, okay? The inside of a fluorescent light is coated with special substances which we call phosphors, okay? And these are the ones that when they absorb UV energy, okay, they begin to glow. Okay, so nag-glow. Okay, and you see it in a visible light. Okay, nakikita natin. Okay, yan. Now, sometimes fluorescent lights have different colors. Those colors are because of the variation in the phosphors that are used. Okay, next we have neon light. Okay, a neon light is similar to fluorescent light, but it is cooler. It is a cooler light as compared to fluorescent light. So that is why in most streets and highways, um, yan, neon light is used. But in producing neon light, okay, various gases are used. Okay, like for example, neon gas. Now this neon gas produce bright red light, and then mercury vapor produce greenish blue light, and sodium vapor give off bright yellow-orange light. Okay, now some gases, like for example, mercury and sodium gases or vapor, okay, produce lesser glary lights as compared to neon. Okay, kaya these are the ones that are mostly or more used in street lightings and highway lightings. Okay? Yan. So that's the neon light. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the wave particle nature of light. Okay? So light is a kind of electromagnetic wave. Okay? Or electromagnetic radiation. And sabi natin, it does not require particle or medium for transmission. Then how come merong particle nature yung light? Okay? So again, let's go back to the structure of the atom to understand better the wave particle nature of light. Okay, so sabi natin, an electron that gets promoted, okay, to a higher energy level absorbs energy. And when it returns, okay, to a lower energy level, it releases a discrete photon of energy, okay, and that photon travels outwards as a wave, okay? Yan yon. Right. So, when an electron returns to a lower energy level and gives off electromagnetic energy, the energy is released as a discrete packet of energy called a photon. Now, yung photon na yon, okay, or the packet, discrete packet, okay, that photon resembles a particle. Okay? O kasi discrete siya eh. It's a photon. It resembles a particle but it moves like a wave. Okay? So, yung particle wave theory of light states that uh, uh, a photon waves or photon waves traveling through space or matter make up the electromagnetic radiation. Okay? So, basically, okay, that explains. Kaya nga, the photon energy, the photon na which is a discrete packet of energy is the one that resembles a particle. Okay? Ayan, para siyang particle. But in fact, it's not a particle. But it moves like a wave. Okay? Yan. So, the photon energy increases as frequency increases and wavelength decreases. This means photon energy increases across the electromagnetic spectrum from radio waves to gamma rays. So, parang ibig sabihin nito, if every EM wave carries energy with it, in fact, they are actually carrying photon energies with them, okay, or photons with them. Okay, now the photon in radio waves has energy, photon energy, which is lower compared to, let's say, the microwave. And the microwave photon energy carries with it lesser energy compared to visible, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, yun. So, we think of the photon as the particle nature, okay, which travels in the form of wave. Okay? So, hence the particle wave nature of the electromagnetic waves. Okay? Yan. So, lahat ng electromagnetic radiation resemble, okay, particle wave, uh, have particle wave nature. Okay? And so with that, that ends our discussion for light and electromagnetic waves. Thank you.